What's up everybody and welcome to another edition of AGR's Pop Culture Reviews. Now, I took the better part of last weekend to really put this game through its paces. I didn't want to rush it, and I also didn't want to jump on the bandwagon of automatically hating on this game. It's been incredibly polarizing for many Call of Duty fans, and there's probably a good reason for that. So this is my official review of Call of Duty Black Ops 4. Let's take a closer look. Now, to be fair to this game, and I think it's very imperative in any review, is to review it based on what it's trying to do, what it's trying to be, or what they set out to do in the first place. And Call of Duty Black Ops 4 is a very unusual game. Now, the obvious aside, there is no campaign mode, and that's regrettable, for the most part. But it doesn't mean that this is a bad game, and I'll tell you why. In my opinion, Call of Duty Black Ops 4 is really going to be the game that has an asterisk behind it. Essentially what this game is a response to current market trends, particularly with games like Fortnite, which is the obvious game that we have to compare it to. Now essentially what this version of Call of Duty boils down to is a bunch of modes. And that's essentially it. Now you can argue that that's been the moniker of the series for years, but this one really takes it literally. And it's probably the first time in the series where it's been so blatant and they just don't care. So the only way to properly review this game is to divide it up into the three modes. Now, obviously Battle Royale is the newest entry into some of the modes for Call of Duty. And for those of you who have played it for the first time might find it pretty interesting. However, those of you who have been playing Fortnite for a long time will find this mode a little bit anemic to say the least. Now, one of the things that's striking almost immediately is how dumbed down this version is from what you would see in a game like Fortnite. Obviously, they're trying to appeal to mass audiences with this game. Now, one of the reasons that I say this has to do with the loot, the pickups, and basically the weapons that you get throughout the game, as well as the resources. I mean, they're strewn around everywhere like candy on Halloween. I mean, everything in this mode, and I mean everything, is plentiful as the foliage you see throughout the maps. You never had to go too far or travel too great distances if you ever ran out of ammo, wanted to change out a loadout, or even wanted to upgrade some of your armor. It just was everywhere. Also, the complexity of this mode simply wasn't there. Many of you, love it or hate it, in Fortnite, like the fact that you can actually build structures and be a little bit more tactical with the way that you want to approach Battle Royale. Well, none of that is here. There's no building function, there's no resources to manage, there's no resources to pick up in order for you to build or fortify your player for this mode. But does that mean that Battle Royale in Call of Duty is bad? No, it's actually pretty exhilarating once you get the hang of it and you realize that it's a little bit more simplistic than Fortnite. I also like the fact that there is that same sense of urgency when the map starts getting increasingly smaller in the area that you're actually battling in. But I do have to state the obvious, Call of Duty's version of Battle Royale is absurdly simplistic and lacks much of the customization and charm of Fortnite. Now, I heard a lot of this leading up to the launch of this title, that although we don't have a campaign mode, we're getting a lot of zombies, and to a certain extent, it's true, but it doesn't justify not having a campaign. We do have zombies coming out the yin-yang this time. Now, obviously, zombie mode is not anything revolutionary, and it certainly isn't here. I do have to say it's a little bit more themed here and packed with a little bit more content. I also have to mention that this title constantly smacks you on the head that they're trying to reach the casual gamer, as even this zombie mode has a version for people who want to play in the kiddie pool, so to speak. Customization, loadouts, and certain types are about what you would expect from the previous titles. Again, nothing very revolutionary, but it doesn't mean that it's not innovative in its own right, and that really has to do with the kind of themes that they went with this time around with the zombie mode. Now, one of my personal favorites was being able to travel through the time-space continuum, or whatever half-assed explanation for the fact that it justifies you being able to battle zombies in a Coliseum-style arena, which was really awesome, even though it was a little bit jarring to see modern-day weapons being used against zombies in this kind of motif. Which didn't bother me too much, but I would have liked to see a little bit more barbaric weapons, so to speak, or at least something that came out of the Bronze Age. I do have to praise the level design in this mode, mostly because it does require you to be a little bit more tactical and rely heavily on your team, otherwise you're going to get your ass handed to you with these hordes of zombies. Now, most people have kind of remarked on that before, but I think they're actually perfecting it with every iteration of this mode. One of the main issues that we've had in previous zombie modes is people run off and kind of do Rambo style and don't really work with the team. I think this time around they've been a little bit more incentivized to really work as a unit. The other cool thing about this mode, and something that I'm not sure if we saw before, is that there are little mini bosses within these zombie modes that you have to take down. Now they're very tough, especially depending on what wave you're on once they show up on the actual battlefield. They are intense battles, and you seriously have to work as a unit in order to take down these behemoths. But it's really cool. I'm glad they introduced this. I mean, what can I say? I had a lot of fun with zombie mode. It's just as exhilarating as it's always been, especially if you have a group of friends all working together for the same goal. It can be very fun, and I really liked it. But again, it does not supplement for an actual campaign mode, and I'm going to keep coming back to that because I'm going to give my thoughts on why I think it was such a missed opportunity. Then of course we have the online multiplayer. Now, nothing too revolutionary here either. The same modes come back with slight variations and differences. You also have some different abilities that you can actually do. My personal favorite is being able to actually revive your squad unit if you are the last man standing, which is really cool. Again, the same problems that we've had in the past is the high powered or overpowered weapons. I also did notice this time around we do have a life bar, which is pretty substantial, but I have to admit that battles sometimes turn into this waltz to see who can actually drain the life bar quicker than the other person, and it is a little bit awkward, but again, it is very fair. If you get certain headshots or if you get certain critical shots, it diminishes the life bar a little bit more as, say, wounding somebody or hitting somebody in the leg, so I thought that was pretty cool. The maps, unfortunately, are at times very inconsistent. While some of them can be very intricate and seem slightly larger, others can be incredibly suffocating and very claustrophobic. At times, you're literally bumping into one another, and it boils down to one side staying in one position for the whole match and just letting waves and waves of your opponents just run into the bullets. This is particularly true and very frustrating when it comes to the little mini staircases. I mean, you could just sit there the whole time with minimal exposure and just pick people off while they're running by. The other thing that aggravated the hell out of me about this game was definitely the canine units. They are indestructible, and all they gotta do is be in your orbit, and the minute that they touch you, you go down. It is frustrating as hell, and they really need to fix that. It is so unbalanced. Now, I do have to admit, and I have to say this because it's true, the multiplayer did appeal to my nostalgia, and it was so awesome to see some refreshed and updated versions of the older maps. I mean, it was so freaking cool to see them in a lot higher resolution and re-envisioned or reimagined, so to speak. So props to them for doing that. One of the other things that I really appreciated that kind of kept me invested and kept me in the fight is the fact that they do the best out of 3 matches, which is really cool because it does keep you invested and it makes you want to win the rest of the matches if you are down by 1 or 2. And it makes for an interesting and very invigorating kind of challenge because you do want to be the underdog and come back and win all the matches. So I like that as well. Okay, so here we go, guys. Now we got to talk about the campaign or lack thereof. Now, for me, one of the best storylines in the series has been the Black Ops storyline, and I could not understand why they wouldn't do or continue the storyline. It was one of the best. Particularly when we went back to the Vietnam era. It was so freaking cool, guys, and it is reprehensible that they didn't do a campaign mode this time. I'm sorry, but there's no amount of zombies or anything else battle royale related that will supplement for a campaign. I feel like we really got cheated this time around. Now, of course, you Call of Duty enthusiasts out there are going to say, we don't play the campaign mode anyway, we just play the multiplayer and the zombies. Well, some of us do, and it is a real shame that they went in this direction just because they want to react to current market trends. We are getting less content, guys. That's just it. There's no reason why they couldn't put a campaign mode other than the fact that they just didn't want to do it for whatever reason. But my biggest fear is that this is going to be a trend moving forward, similar to what EA is doing with the Madden series, in that they're just incremental updates and not really substantive. Activision and Treyarch, if you're listening, you're being put on notice. I'm going to forgive this once, but not again. Because honestly, guys, Black Ops 4 really feels like it's part of a season pass. It really feels like it's just a congested amount of DLC, and that's why I couldn't justify paying the $60 price tag. And having said all that, I am really happy for today's sponsor for flipping the bill on this. Thank you very much to F&B Collectibles Incorporated for sponsoring today's video. Alright everybody, so that's my official review on Call of Duty Black Ops 4. As always, I thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next AGR's Pop Culture Reviews.
Decide how best to react.
Perhaps we would be wise to abandon ship. There are lifeboats after all. They should be used.
Oh no, I'm getting flashbacks, horrible ones at that. It's really starting to feel like that terrible Cambodia business all over again.
My weapon grows ever lighter. It may be time to display my...
That sounded a lot wetter than an explosion really should.